Donald Trump posted on Truth Social F13 here. He said he announced this meeting in the funniest possible way. Quote, communist mayor of New York City, Zohran, quote, Kwame Mamdani, like how he used to say Barack Hussein Obama, has asked for a meeting. We have agreed that this meeting will take place at the Oval Office on Friday, November 21st. Further details to follow. But Matt, I wanted to talk to you about this because you wrote just an incredible essay over on Racket. This was right before Halloween. I think it was late October, called The Great Leftist Ignorance Scam. And reading your perspective, again, as somebody who did the reporting during the Great Recession, but also lived in the post-Soviet Union Russia, and is watching now New York City have like a, not just a sewer socialist in the 20th century, but a neo-socialist mayor of the biggest city like in the country, one of the financial power centers of the world, one of the culture power centers of the world. Trump and Mamdani meeting, hilarious in many different ways, but I just wanted to see if you could flesh out some of the points that you made in that piece a little bit, because you often get pegged as like a man of the democratic socialist of America, not just even the left, but like you kind of get pegged of that kind of what branch of the left, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of Bernie's at the beginning. I knew him very well. I did a story with him that was amazing and educational. Like I followed him around Congress for a month, and he basically taught me how Congress works. And I liked him. I thought he was honest. He seemed really to be interested in improving the lives of his constituents. He never went off the record with me, never insisted on anything being secret. So
that's incredible. You followed him around for a month and he never went off the record?
No,
I've never heard of that.
He is there are only a couple of politicians that I can think of who were that unguarded, and so I admired him for a lot of things. I think he was principled. I also liked the fact that he was willing to work with people like Ron Paul in doing things like auditing the Fed, right? And there was a collegiality that was absent from Congress at that time. So I admired him, and I liked a lot of his ideas. But Bernie, he has great affection for the Democratic Party. I think he's patriotic in his own way, believe it or not. And he knows that there's a line that you can't cross with American politics. So like you can't start talking about seizing the means of production and expect to have to be a viable national candidate. But something happened. Something changed with the American voter in the last 10 years or so, and I started to see this in the campaign trail. Even in the 2016 cycle, like I would see anti-Trump rallies where young people would be holding hammers and sickles, flags with the Soviet emblem on them, and I would ask them, like, "What do you know about the Soviet Union?" And they would basically they didn't know any of the history. They're no longer taught about the gulags. They're no longer taught about deep kulakization or the collectivization or any of the things. And I heard a lot of these stories personally in my time over there, so it's kind of horrifying to me to think that there's been this change in how we view this stuff. Americans tend to be very well informed about the history of the Nazi Party, but we don't know a whole lot about the Stalinist period, or it's been forgotten, and that's what I worry about. Not that Zohran is Stalin. It's just that the language around him it's sort of unembarrassed in its embrace of certain things.
Well, at the Zohran Victory Party, Hassan Piker talked about how unfortunately the U.S. won the Cold War. Yeah. The Soviet Union was toppled. Did you see that?
That's what prompted me to write the article, because I studied in the Soviet Union. I was there. I watched it. Its full incompetence and inability to achieve anything. I mean, it was a total failure of a society. Even at the end, in the sort of post-perestroika
Mhm.
period, it was horrific. And the stories that people told about the things that they went through were just they were mind-boggling. And for people to say that and sort of joke about it, it tells you that they don't know a whole lot. That's which is really scary, right? And that's what is worrying about this phenomenon. The meeting, though, I mean, that's just so WWE. I hope they do it like a wrestling match. I mean, I hope it's televised live at least.
I mean, yeah, he loves to televise those live. I was there when he was touring the Fed with Jay Powell, and
Oh,
it
that would
was
be great.
one of the most, as they were walking down the hallway in the construction, it was one of the most like uncomfortable 20 seconds. And he entirely did that on purpose. Like 100% he knew what he was doing. Like he knew that they were going to walk in silence to the press. And I mean, it's just, he coordinates this, I mean, choreographs it to a T. I think actually Mamdani and Trump maybe have more in
They
common than
do.
they'd be willing to admit. What do you think?
They absolutely 100% do. And Mamdani is really he's the future, I think, of politics on that side of the aisle. Uh, for that exact reason, I think he understands a lot of the this that you have to have simple, strong themes, the theatrics. He has a lot of the same instincts that Trump has in terms of PR. So it'll be interesting to see the two of them together because I would bet that there's a moment or two where they get along, which is going to freak both of their bases out.
Right. Yes, it will freak both of their bases out, but maybe not them. I mean, I'm sure he's already doing the like Zohran Mamdani thing, like he did Barack Hussein Obama, and he refers to him as the communist mayor of New York City. But actually, that's kind of an interesting question, Matt. Like, what do you like? There's the democratic socialism that Bernie Sanders espouses, and obviously Zoran comes from Democratic Socialists of America (DSA) circles. But there are a lot of people who are in DSA world who are actually not really democratic socialists who flirt with something much more like socialism or communism, full socialism or communism. Where do you put Zoran himself on that spectrum?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Bolsheviks were originally called the Democratic Socialists, so it's
Then there's National Socialists.
yeah, yeah, right. And p part of the whole sort of Marxist or Lenin, it's probably better to say Leninist approach to politics is this embracing this idea that of sort of open insincerity to achieve power, which makes some of this. The sort of insincere smile that Mamdani flashes from time to time. It makes it a little chilling for people who are students of history. When he talks about how the seizing the means of production quote came in the middle of a DSA meeting where he talked about how, yes, we should talk about the things that are popular now, the things that aren't, like seizing the means of production, maybe we shouldn't. There's an extraordinary cynicism in that, right? I mean, it's so that's undisguised. So I don't know. I don't know how to classify him. We'll have to see how he governs. But the DSA, when you listen to their actual meetings, yeah, it's gotten pretty far to the left. It's different from the Bernie version of the DSA that I first covered.
So last question then is like, how do you think about the genuine prospect of like a populist reform on Wall Street when populism is manifesting in democratic socialism that looks something like a person who said seizing the means of production is possibly on the menu, or Trumpism, which is being showered with gifts, literally cash, by crypto billionaires and Wall Street
Right.
and the financial industry. What are our prospects for like just having decent reform as you see them now?
Not great.
Fuck, man.
I mean, I think the one thing that one would hope the populist movements would achieve is that it would scare government and industry into doing a little better by people, right? Because ultimately, that's the only way that they can get the make people stand down and put their pitchforks down is to steal a little bit less be a little bit less greedy, just like a fraction, right? And maybe improve the lives of the general polity just enough so that people can get by and raise kids or even think about having families, which is, that's the problem right now, right? Why does somebody like Mamdani happen? It happens because people who are 20 years old or 22 years old, the idea of buying a house and starting a family is just not even in the realm of possibility for a lot of people who are, coming out of college now, right? So you turn to some pretty extreme politics because nothing else has worked. That's how Trump happened. Why would you keep voting for the same clowns who don't deliver over and over and over again? You got to try something different eventually, and that's how Mamdani happens. So we understand why it happens. The problem is, who's going to bring about that more effective form of government and find that balance between these two dueling forms of populism that are becoming ascendant? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to see where the answer is.
Let me tell you about my favorite chips, the best chips that I've ever had in my life. If you've ever read the label on a typical chip bag, you've seen like the science experiment of seed oils, MSG, dyes, and vague natural flavors, quote, natural flavors. But Vandy Crisps are part of the growing movement to bring back real food with just 3 ingredients: 100% pesticide-free potatoes, sea salt, and grass-fed beef tallow. No junk, just real food. They taste so amazing, and they leave you feeling light, energized, and satisfied with no crash, bloat, or mindless binging. My favorite flavor is definitely the Smokehouse Barbecue. I like them all, though. They're so good. And if you love Vandy, you'll love Masa Chips, Vandy's sister brand. Their 3-ingredient tortilla chips are also the best that I've ever had, and my go-to flavor, I like them all. Again, lime, I like the habanero. I also like the churro flavor. Super great for dessert. So if you're ready to give Vandy or Masa a try, use code AFTERPARTY for 25% off your first order at vandycrisps.com or masachips.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? No problem. Vandy and Masa are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket, so stop by and pick up a couple of bags before they're gone.